I'm the math guy, Steve. Let's try solving this equation. So when solving equations that have radicals in them, our first attempt or our first step should be to try to get the radical on a side by itself, okay, or the square roots on a side by itself. All right. So in order to do that here, we would say, okay, well, this radical is on the side and the equal sign is right between the other side. And so this radical is on a side by itself. All right. Our next step would be to raise both sides of that equation to some power. Okay. Now, since this is a square root, we're going to raise both sides to the second power. That square root and raising it to the second power cancel each other out. Okay. So in other words, we're going to square both sides of this equation. Okay. So square both sides of this equation. Now, what that does again on this left side is it gets rid of that radical. The square root and the square cancel each other out. So we're left with just negative 10 plus 7x. And then on the right side, squaring this right side, we get x squared. But now what we've created is a quadratic equation. So to solve the quadratic equation, there's a few ways. We can try solving by factoring, and solving by completing the square, solving by using the quadratic formula, okay? But let's try solving by factoring. When solving by factoring, we know to get 0 on one side. So in other words, let's subtract 7x from both sides and add 10 to both sides, okay? So that would give us 0 equals x squared minus 7x plus 10. So get 0 on one side, then try factoring the other side. All right, now when factoring three terms, if there's a 1 in front, our first attempt would be try this double bubble setup, okay? So double bubble, this is double set of parentheses, okay? X and X. And then now we need numbers that multiply to give me 10 and combine to give me negative 7. Okay, so like here, let's do it on the side really quickly. What whole numbers multiply to give me 10? 1 and 10, those work, okay? But I can't get a negative 7 out of that, a 7 or a negative 7. What else? Oh, 2 and 5. Okay, I think that works. But since it's a negative 7, we need negative 2 and negative 5. So those are the numbers that go inside the double bubble. So we get 0 on one side, we factor the other side, and now we set each factor equal to 0. So here, x minus 2 equals 0, and x minus 5 equals 0. And we solve each of these equations separately. So here, adding 2 to both sides, we get x equals 2. All right. And here, adding 5 to both sides, we get x equals 5. There we go. And those are my two solutions to this equation. Now, we always have our Nike step at the end, okay? That's just check it, okay? Now, we definitely have to check when these are radical equations, okay? Or any even root radical. So square root, a fourth root, a sixth root, etc. Okay. The reason why is because sometimes these solutions are what we call extraneous solutions, meaning though they seem like solutions, we did all the algebra properly, they still don't end up being solutions. And that has to do with square and square root kind of undo each other, but not completely, not all the way. Okay. So let's check to make sure that these solutions both indeed work or indeed are solutions to our equation. So our check step, okay? Don't forget the Nike check step. All right. So let's plug in 2 into the original equation, see if we get a true statement. The square root of negative 10 plus 7 times 2. Is that equal to 2? Let's see. All right, that's the square root of negative 10 plus 14. Is that equal to 2? Well, negative 10 plus 14 is 4. So the square root of 4. Is that 2? Yep, 2 equals 2. Okay, that one checks. We're good. All right, let's try 5. Okay, so we got to check both. So the square root of negative 10 plus 7 times 5. Is that equal to 5? Let's see. All right, the square root of negative 10 plus 7 times 5 is 35. Is that equal to 5? Well, that's the square root of negative 10 plus 35 is 25. Is that equal to 5? It sure is. 5 equals 5. So both of these solutions check. All right, so both of these are indeed the solutions to our radical equation here. Okay, so with the radical equations, it's not too bad. Okay, we know to get the radical on one side by itself, then raise both sides to some power, then solve this new equation. Our new equation here was quadratic, so solve our quadratic equation, but then make sure we do that Nike step, okay? That is the check step. Make sure we check at the end of our equation to make sure we don't have any extraneous solutions, all right? So again, not too bad. And always remember, math is everywhere.